Hi, boys and girls. It is a Wellbeing Wednesday once again. We're continuing on with our theme of respected, and we're still looking at foods from around the world, but this time we're going to be focusing on food customs around the world. So today we are learning to respect different food customs around the world, and it helps us to respect something if we understand it. We're going to learn it through this PowerPoint, through continuing to try and eat new types of foods or cooking new types of foods, from researching foods that people around the world eat, and through researching food customs around the world. We're learning this to be responsible citizens who respect other people's food choices and their food customs as well, because everyone has different food customs. You might have a friend who has different customs because maybe their family is from another country, or you might go on holiday somewhere at one point and then you want to really respect the customs of the place that you're visiting. You also want to be confident individuals who will try out new foods, and you want to be successful learners who can talk about food traditions and customs around the world. You'll know that you've been successful if you can show respect for other people's food choices, if you can compare and contrast food customs from your own and other people's cultures, and this really means looking for similarities and differences, and if you can talk about some food customs from around the world as well. So let's get started. In England, India and Japan, it is considered good manners to clear your plate to show that you've enjoyed and appreciated the meal. So basically, if in England, and the same is kind of true in Scotland as well, if someone's made you a meal, you really want to show that you've ate the whole thing to show that you've enjoyed it. Because if you leave some on your plate, then the person might think that you've not enjoyed their cooking. In China, clearing your plate, however, means that you think the host didn't give you enough food to eat. So in China, you want to leave some left over on your plate to show, well, you've given me so much food, you're so generous, I could not possibly eat this all. Eating with your hands. In some Middle Eastern countries, eating with your hands is perfectly acceptable. The right hand is used for handling food. Picking up food with the left hand, however, is believed to be an insult to the host. So if you were to go to some of these Middle Eastern countries, you would want to make sure you're using the correct hand to show that you were being polite. In Chile, however, you must use cutlery when you are eating. So, boys and girls, in the UK, we also mostly use cutlery. Every now and again, if you get a pizza, or if you're eating a cake or something, you might just use your hands. But in some Middle Eastern countries, eating with your hands, that's what they do all the time. Okay, so respecting your elders. In South Korea, families have to wait for the oldest member of the family to take a bite before anyone else is allowed to start eating. So if you were sitting at the dinner table with your gran and papa and you lived in South Korea, you couldn't even eat anything on your plate until your gran and papa had had something to eat. Okay, so you need to wait for the eldest members first to show respect. Slurping. You might have been told that slurping your food is rude, but not in Japan. Slurping noodles is a sign that you are really enjoying your food, and drinking from a soup bowl is also perfectly acceptable too. I wonder if you boys and girls do slurp from your soup bowl. I always use a spoon. But I know when I was younger, my little brother used to always slurp his soup, and my mum was always telling him off, saying that is so rude. So if you're slurping your food though in Japan, it's not rude at all, it's perfectly normal. So in Thailand, it's rude to use a fork to pick up food from your plate. People only use forks to push food onto a spoon, and the spoon is then what is used to put the food into the mouth. So that's quite confusing, isn't it, boys and girls? In some countries, they don't use cutlery at all. In other countries, they do use cutlery. And in some countries, you only really use a spoon. So it can get quite confusing looking at all of these different food cultures and traditions. So chopsticks. Be very careful when using chopsticks, as you can easily offend your host. So look at all of these rules that there are for chopsticks. You should never stick them upright in your bowl of rice, cross them, tap them on the bowl, wave them at someone, rest them on the table pointing at someone, or pass food with them. So that is a lot of rules, and I'm not surprised that it's saying to be very careful, because you want to make sure that you don't offend anybody and you're following these rules. So quite a lot there to remember, but very good to know. Fish. If you're served fish in China, you must never flip it over. There is a superstition that turning over the fish capsizes a boat somewhere. So that's quite an interesting superstition. So never flip over a fish in China. Cheese. In Italy, you must never ask for cheese toppings unless it is offered. You shouldn't add it to pizza, and it's even worse to add it to seafood. Okay, so in Italy, don't ask for cheese toppings. Salt and pepper. In Egypt and Portugal, asking for salt and pepper to add to your meal is deeply offensive to the cook because you're telling the cook that you've not seasoned this food correctly. And some more food customs. In some parts of Thailand, Cambodia and the Philippines, fried spider is a delicacy. Now that's quite interesting, boys and girls. A lot of people are saying because climate change is becoming such a big issue that actually eating insects and eating things like spiders might be better for the environment than eating meat. So I wonder what you think about that. Would you ever have a fried spider? I wonder what it would taste like. In some parts of Africa, people drink animal blood. It is believed to give strength and stamina. I don't know about you, but I don't think I want to be strong enough to drink animal blood. But if that's what they believe, that's just a different food custom from around the world. All these food customs, boys and girls, are quite different to what we're used to, and it's really interesting to learn about them because then we can be more respectful of them. In Greenland and Iceland, shark meat is buried under sand for months. Once it is rotten, it is hung up to dry for a few more months before it is eaten. So that's quite interesting as well. It's almost like putting it away in a freezer for months, but instead they bury it under sand for months. Interesting. Christmas food customs around the world. The fast food fried chicken shop is very popular in Japan and is what many people choose to eat on Christmas Day. You have to order your meal weeks in advance because it's so popular. Can you imagine having fried chicken on your Christmas? That's so different to what we do, isn't it? In England, many people set their Christmas pudding on fire before eating it. I wonder if you have ever tried that. Around Christmas time, the consumption of oysters increases significantly in France. And in Lithuania, the Christmas meal is made up of 12 dishes. So very different just even Christmas food customs around the world. So let's look back at our learning intention and success criteria. We are learning to respect food customs around the world, and to be successful we need to show respect for other people's food choices, and we talked about how it's important to understand something to then respect it. So hopefully that PowerPoint has helped you understand some different traditions. We're also looking at comparing and contrasting food customs from our own and other people's cultures, and just talking about these food customs around the world. Now, your task today is first of all to think of any food customs we have in Scotland, because there wasn't really much of that in the PowerPoint, boys and girls, and we do have our own customs here in Scotland, so have a think about that. Do you know any? Do your mum or dad know any customs? That's your first question. Then you're going to have a table to complete, and you can use examples in the PowerPoint for this, or you can do your own research, or you can ask again people in your family to list a country and then to list the custom next to it in a table. And then finally, we're going to be really comparing and contrasting these. So thinking, are any of our customs similar to customs from around the world? And are any of them very different? Okay, so boys and girls, that is your task for today. As always, let us know if you have got any questions, and I hope that you have enjoyed this. So bye for now.